Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flows like eggs. Looked at a while, lag, and pray for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
God bless you, working on the plan to heaven. Follow the Lord on 24/7.
Your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Collision on February 1st to SmackDown on February 7th. We'll open with Collision. Samoa Joe and Hook defeat Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian after Joe hit the Muscle Buster on Sabian. After the match, Christian Cage attacks when the bell rings and stomps Joe's head into his little contract case that he has for a world title shot. We then get Cope. He is backstage. He doesn't know what Moxley's plans are, and he's not sure Moxley even knows what he's talking about or what his plans are for whatever he wants to have done in AEW. Maybe he just wants to blame everyone else. Maybe he's just a malcontent. Moxley hid the title in a briefcase while they started on a new network, and that wasn't very smart, according to Cope. Cope says the previous generation worked hard to pave the way for his generation, and Cope did that for guys like Moxley. The AEW Championship is the most important thing in this history, and for some reason, Moxley wants to hide it away. Cope says he'll change that. He says for the first time ever, one-on-one at AEW Revolution, he challenges Jon Moxley for the world title. We then get a squash match where the Beast Mortos beats Adam Priest. He finished him off pretty quickly, and he finishes the match with Destination Hellhole. We then get Platinum Max Caster. He comes out to some new music. He says Mortos did great, but he'd never stand a chance against the best wrestler alive, which is himself. Caster will show him how it's done and offers up an open challenge, and we'll find out who can survive the best wrestler alive. This backfires on him as Roosh returns and immediately destroys him and wins via pinfall following the horns. Roosh takes the mic and wants to know what's wrong with Mortos because he seems to not really give him the time of day. He reminds them that they're family, and he doesn't need to mess with him because when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. We then get Lexi. She's in the back with the Outrunners. Truth Magnum says it's time for the whole truth and nothing but the truth for Chris Jericho. Turbo Floyd then says it's easy as ABC 1, 2, 3, and the Outrunners will be on top after tonight. And then they had that match where Jericho and Brian Keith actually defeat the Outrunners when Keith is able to roll up Floyd after some help from Big Bill. Big Bill attacks the Outrunners post-match, hitting splashes on both men in opposite corners. Brian Keith then pulls out a table and slides it into the ring. Commentary tells us that Hobbs is not here tonight, so nobody can come save them. Bill then goozles Floyd and Magnum, but Bandito makes his return, and he is here. And Bill is sent outside, and Bandito hits a tornado to take out Jericho. Keith then attacks Bandito, but gets press slammed through the table that they had set up. We then get a video package from Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. Fletcher wants to overcome the fluke victory that Mark got over him in the Continental Classic. Kyle thinks that victory would have never happened if the circumstances were different. They will face off again, and there will be no repeats. We then get Lexi Nair. She's with Okada backstage, but again, Buddy Matthews comes in and interrupts. Buddy thinks it's funny that Okada calls himself a champion, but refuses to defend it. Okada says Buddy doesn't deserve it, and then Buddy thought that's what he'd say, and that's why he's a bitch. And of course, Okada responds, "I'm no bitch," and talks about that. So, and then we get a match where Harley Cameron actually scores an upset victory over Taya Valkyrie via pinfall after reversing a roll-up into a cradle pin of her own. So Harley Quinn finally gets that big win she's been searching for. We then get Ricochet. He has a sit-down with Renee Paquette. For the past 5 years, Ricochet has heard AEW is where he belongs. He agreed with the fans on that. But then the moment that he got here, the fans turned their backs on him. He beat their White Knight and Will Ospreay clean, and he got showered with toilet paper afterwards. Swerve thought it was cute to embarrass him. And if Swerve is the man of the people, that's what Ricochet saw when he drove the scissors into his head. Swerve Strickland then comes in and kind of interrupts and takes Renee's spot. He says he can end him right now, but he won't. Swerve says this goes all the way back to Lucha Underground days with them, and even into some of their confrontations in CZW. Swerve warned AEW not to bring Ricochet in. Ricochet pretended to be a superhero, and the fans rejected him. Swerve is a villain, and the fans respected him for it. This week, they will have a fight, and Ricochet can't win a fight between the two of them. Ricochet says he's not good at acting or cutting promos. Ever since Hangman snatched his grill, Ricochet has had no threat from Swerve. Swerve grabs him and gets in his face before simply saying he'll see him in Atlanta. We then get a spotlight on the stage, and Timeless Toni Storm comes out. She has a confession. She's been playing the role of Toni Storm for the last 6 weeks. They all bore witness to her metamorphosis. She did this for herself. When Mariah May broke her heart and took everything, she was so embarrassed and ashamed that she had to run from herself. Then she realized the only way out is through the fire. She rebuilt herself up to look Mariah May in the eye, and she saw everything she needed to see. Tony calls Mariah May a shambolic bitch, and it doesn't get more real than Timeless Toni Storm. She is Timeless Toni Storm, and May's time is over. We then get Renee. She's with Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron has a puppet version of Mercedes Moné, and she's apparently a really good ventriloquist because she actually does it pretty well. Monet then comes in and the puppet Monet wants to wrestle Harley Cameron in Australia. She wants to feel the wrath. Cameron then can't. The puppet then says Harley can help herself to the actual Mercedes locker room. Cameron and Renee do the little CEO dance, and now, of course, the real Mercedes Moné comes in. She says all of this is just Cameron hiding the fact that she's a loser, and then we cut to the next match. Daniel Garcia in our next match defeats Kyle O'Reilly and Lee Moriarty when he gets the jackknife cover on Moriarty. Shane Taylor Promotions comes out afterwards, and they come out and corner O'Reilly and Garcia, but Angelo Parker and Matt Menard come out to even things up, and then the Undisputed Kingdom come out and arrive, and they run off Shane Taylor Promotions, and then a 3-way trios match is booked for next week, which would be Shane Taylor Promotions versus the Undisputed Kingdom versus 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. We then run down Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa, which will happen soon. They've been kind of building that over the last week or so. Rosa won't let Ford make a memory at her expense, and we'll get that match next week on Collision. We go to a video package, and we see it's another hologram vignette basically saying that he's coming back. We then get Megan Bain. She defeats Hyena Hera via pinfall following an F5. And then we get a video from earlier today where they kind of catch up with Action Andretti and Leo Rush. They don't show up just because Top Flight asked them to. They'll be back soon, and maybe they'll take those guys up on their offer for a match. We then get Mariah May. She thinks her history with Toni Storm is poetic. No, it's pathetic. It'll be Storm versus Amanada this week on Dynamite with Mariah May on commentary. We then get Lexi Nair. She's with Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. They have a lot of good history and a lot of bad history together. Stat wants to ask for forgiveness as she is sorry for what she has done to her in the past. Willow thinks it's time she focuses on herself. And she says it's time for her to focus on herself. Statlander says, just so you know, this wasn't actually broken. And Statlander pulls out the friendship bracelet that they had previously. And then we get our main event where FTR defeats John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta in the Mid-Atlantic Street Fight when they hit a spike pile driver through the announce table on Yuta. Jay White, Cope, and FTR all target John Moxley after the match, who's basically on his own in the ring, and they hit a shatter machine and a spear. to kind of take him out. White then goes and grabs another chair, and they all help Cope set up for the concerto, but Claudio comes in at the last second to pull Moxley to safety. A couple of pretty good squashes, but the best match, I would say, that triple threat TNT title match with Daniel Garcia and O'Reilly and Moriarty was good, but I would go with the main event just because it had a little bit more story to it, and I like a good street fight every now and then, so I would definitely go with that one for that show. We'll then go to Raw. We open with Jey Uso coming through the crowd for his big celebration from winning the Royal Rumble the past weekend. His song plays all the way to the ring, but the fans insist that he does the dance, the yeet dance one more time. The fans obviously chant "You deserve it" at Jay, and then they do an Uso chant. He really seems kind of a bit nervous, and I kind of taken aback by how much they're cheering for him and how much like the reception that he's getting means to him. He even says, "I don't really know what to say," and then the fans obviously chant "yeet" at him, and he says, "Well, maybe besides that." He talks about how he and his brother tried to become stars to carry on their family legacy. Then he got involved with the Bloodline, which was fire. Those are cool chapters in his career, but he wasn't confident enough to be a single star. But coming out here tonight, he has it now. Uso thanks the fans, and now he is the Royal Rumble winner and on his way to WrestleMania. Gunther then comes out to interrupt. He says he is disappointed because this possible matchup doesn't appeal to him. Gunther has made everyone believe that he is barely hanging onto the title, but he is always in control. He refuses to do this with Jay again because he is in the process of building a legacy for himself. Beating Uso again means nothing, and Gunther wishes it was Roman Reigns, John Cena, or CM Punk because that adds to his legacy. If Uso chooses Gunther, it will be a horrible display of violence by Gunther at WrestleMania. The reality is Uso has options, and he should consider them. Gunther goes to leave, but Jay cuts him off, asking if Gunther is tired yet. Jay is tired of being told what he can and can't be. He'll be talking to Cody on SmackDown this Friday, but no matter what, he's coming out of WrestleMania as a champion. We then look at Seth Rollins attacking Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, kind of after they both got eliminated. John Cena then they show like the press conference after the Royal Rumble. He says he's officially in the Elimination Chamber. It says he's in because he's earned it after being a top star for 23 years. It is time for him to go on to WrestleMania and win his 17th world title. We then get Penta. He defeats Ludwig Kaiser via pinfall following the Penta driver. Post-match, Penta is interviewed, but Pete Dunne cuts him off and attacks him, and then him and Kaiser lay Penta out, and Kaiser finishes him off for the segment with a spinning DDT. We then look back at JD McDonough's injury from the previous week before cutting back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Finn Balor can't believe things fell apart while he was gone for 2 weeks and yells at the rest of the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio stole his partner and got him hurt, so maybe Mysterio needs a babysitter. Liv then defends Dom, saying they had to fight next week or another team would have gotten the title shot. And tonight, Mysterio has actually gotten Balor an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, and that seems to work for Finn in the meantime. We then get Charlotte, the women's Royal Rumble winner. The fans immediately boo her, and obviously she doesn't seem too affected by it. She said she missed the people who loved and hated her, and the last year has sucked recovering from her injury. Last year broke her physically and mentally, and she didn't know if she was going to make any major show, let alone the Royal Rumble. Now she's back, and she won the Royal Rumble, so boo her now if you would like. This ring is her home. She is going to WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley then comes out and interrupts with Charlotte saying that she was trying to have a moment. Ripley says that was a moment, but this is her show. Ripley does respect Charlotte, so please pick her to face at WrestleMania. Charlotte brings up beating Ripley, who says that was when she was just a kid. It's not locked down yet, though, as Charlotte is going to NXT and SmackDown to see what they have to offer. As for Ripley, she is still a kid, but Charlotte will see her next week. Rhea then begs Charlotte to pick her, and Charlotte kind of just brushes her off, and she's going to go see what her options are on NXT and SmackDown throughout the rest of the week. We then get Sami Zayn. He still wants to go to WrestleMania, but he has to go through CM Punk tonight to get into the Elimination Chamber. Zayn is asked about Kevin Owens, but gets distracted by Jey Uso walking in. Uso insists that he wasn't aiming for Zayn in the Royal Rumble, but Zayn is perfectly fine with it. He knows that wasn't the case. This is Uso's moment, and he wishes Zayn good luck tonight. With Uso gone, Karrion Kross comes in and asks what it's like to have everyone take his spot. Zayn isn't happy with the interruptions, and violence is teased between him and Kross. Io Sky then says she will see Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania as they're kind of talking backstage. Ripley doesn't seem to mind the idea of facing her, but Liv comes in and jumps Io. Ripley tries to does actually successfully chase Liv off, but Raquel Rodriguez comes in out of nowhere and kind of pounces her over some of those equipment cases that they have in the backstage. We then get the New Day. They defeat the LWO, represented by Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee, after Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise on Rey after Logan Paul had gotten involved, who Rey Mysterio will face next week in a qualifying match. We then look at Seth Rollins attacking Roman Reigns once again, and CM Punk after they all three kind of got eliminated at the Royal Rumble. Reigns is kind of banged up, they say. He says he won't, they don't have a really specific update, but for now it's kind of believed that Reigns will be out for the foreseeable future. Punk apologizes to Sami Zayn, or to the Sami Zayn fans, because he's going to Elimination Chamber tonight. We then get Liv Morgan. She defeats Io Sky via disqualification after Rhea Ripley gets involved and punches Liv. So this actually qualifies Liv for the women's elimination chamber. And then after the match, Ripley tries to explain to Io Sky, but Io isn't having any of it. We then get the War Raiders. They respect JD McDonough and all that he went through last week and persevered. But American Made comes in and says this isn't championship material. Obviously talking about the War Raiders. The Creed brothers are championship material, but Eric asks what happens if this turns into a fight. Prepare for war. With the Raiders gone, Chad Gable, not really looking at the rest of the team, tells them to win some titles while he's gone to solve the Lucha Libre problem that he has. We then get Adam Pearce. He announces that AJ Styles is officially on Raw. Braun Breaker comes in and says, keep Styles away from him. Breaker and a reluctant Pearce then walk off to talk business. We then get Seth Rollins. He's out in the ring for a chat. First up, he says congratulations to Jey Uso, and he loves seeing people get what they deserve. That brings him to CM Punk, who got what he deserved at the Royal Rumble. That brings him again to Roman Reigns, who lost at the Royal Rumble as well. The reality is that Reigns is hurt, and Rollins is the one who hurt him. That is what Reigns has been doing to people for years, and it doesn't bother Rollins to do the same thing back. He is ready for WrestleMania, and he will face Finn Balor in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match next week. For now, though, he wants Sami Zayn to come out for a chat, which obviously Sami comes out. Rollins calls Zayn his friend and talks about what they have done. What they have done to deal with Roman Reigns. Tonight is the time for the fight of Sami Zayn's life, and he's better than CM Punk. Punk then comes out, who almost gets into a fight with Rollins in the aisle, but it's broken up pretty quickly before anything can get too physical. And then we get our main event where CM Punk defeats Sami Zayn via pinfall following the GTS. They shake hands after the match. This obviously qualifies Punk for the Elimination Chamber as well. But post-match respect is shown, and Kevin Owens comes out of nowhere, jumps both of them, and hits a package pile driver on Sami to end the show. So he leaves his best buddy laying, and we'll hear an explanation for why he did so on SmackDown. But again, for the second show in a row, the main event was the best match. The Liv Io match, despite it ending in a disqualification, I do think the contents of the match were really good, and I think that they had a pretty good match, but the main event would definitely win out in that scenario for me. We then go to NXT. We open with Stephanie Vaquer defeating JC Jane via pinfall following the SVB. We get some arguing in the women's locker room between quite a few members of the roster. We then get Obafemi. He is ready for A-Town Down Under tonight and says he doesn't owe Trick Williams a damn thing. We then get Lexus King. He's in the ring for a chat. He can't be humble when he is on the path of becoming the biggest star in wrestling history. He plays by his own rules, and why wouldn't he? The King's blood doesn't run with that of a normal person, and he wanted to be anything but his father. He is felt at his best when he is being his father's son, and the reality is the Heritage Cup has been mistreated. Therefore, he is now going to get rid of the old rules and to turn the title matches into regular one-on-one matches, one fall to a finish. We then randomly get, they put Fandango on the screens, but his little nameplate, and he calls himself JDC, which obviously he's in TNA. That's his name. So, but they play the Fandango music just to get the pop. But he comes out. He talks about how weird things get around here. They kind of insult each other back and forth, and he introduces himself as JDC, like I said, before he says that they have a Heritage Cup match next week. So we'll get JDC versus Lexus King. We then get Tony D'Angelo. They show his appearance on the CW series Wild Cards, and the family seems excited, except Stax. He says, oh, this is what D'Angelo has been doing, and he doesn't have time for them anymore. D'Angelo tells him to worry about Ridge Holland tonight and not what he does in his spare time. We then get Ridge Holland. He defeats Stax via pinfall with the Redeemer DDT. We then get Fraxium. They are interrupted for like the third or fourth week in a row by Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, who say they could win the tag titles in their first shot if they ever got one. Fraxium doesn't seem overly impressed and, tells them to earn the shot rather than just keep asking for it. We then get Sol Ruka and Zarya. They defeat Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley when Sol hits the Soul Snatcher on Gigi. We then get Trick Williams. He says he hasn't seen Obafemi tonight, but the game plan is to show that he deserves the Vengeance Day title shot and not both members of A-Town Down Under. We then get Bailey, Roxanne, and Julia out for a chat. I think Roxanne starts things out, and then the other two kind of just interrupt. But Perez wants to talk about her success in the Royal Rumble. She broke Bailey's longevity record throughout the night. Bailey then cuts her off, talking about how she built the first ring in this arena with her bare hands, along with others. In this arena, Dusty Rhodes taught her how to hold a microphone. Bailey is just fine, but what happens if Perez doesn't win at Vengeance Day? Perez threatens to win all of the titles, but here is Julia to say she'll keep her title. Charlotte then comes out to interrupt, saying Mama is home. This has always been her home, and the last time she won a Women's Royal Rumble, she cashed in and won the NXT Women's Championship. Perez then said Perez had a nice performance at the Royal Rumble, but she'll finish second place again if she faces Charlotte. Julia, the hype is real, but Charlotte is still better. And then she'll beat Bailey too, obviously, like she always does. And then Cora Jade comes from behind of all the people in the ring. And kind of takes them all out with her. I think it was either a pipe or a kendo stick. She usually carries a kendo stick, so I think that's what it was. But she takes out Bailey, Perez, and Julia, while Charlotte just kind of glares on from the entranceway. We then get Ava. She has Javon Evans and Ethan Page kind of held apart in her office. She says Evans is suspended, but Page would rather they face each other at Vengeance Day. Ava makes the match if Evans can get cleared from his jaw injury by then. We then get Josh Briggs. He gets a tag match with Hanging Tank next week to maybe prove that they can get a title shot. We then get Ridge Holland. He comes up to the D'Angelo family and wants another North American title match, but he wants the family to not get involved. So Izzy Dame pipes up and suggests a cage match, and that sounds good to Ridge. We then get Kalani Jordan. She defeats Carmen Petrovich via submission with a crossface chicken wing. After the match, Jordan keeps the choke on, and the result actually gets reversed. So Carmen actually ends up getting the win. But Kalani did get it originally. Stephanie Vercur is coming for the Women's North American title at Vengeance Day and isn't worried about the rest of Fatal Influence getting involved. We then get the announcement that Bailey's going to get Cora Jade next week in a match. Fraxium is then ready for either Hank and Tank or Yoshiki Inamura and Josh Briggs. A10 Down Under are ready to team tonight, but then they argue who will be the next NXT champion after Vengeance Day. And then we get our main event where A10 Down Under defeats Trick Williams and Obafemi when Trick gets attacked by Eddie Thorpe with a strap, allowing Waller to hit a rolling flatliner for the win. And then post-match, Eddie Thorpe continues the whipping of Trick Williams. Obviously, I'm going to assume that they will have a strap match at Vengeance Day, but that was not yet announced. But that would just make the most sense to me, I would say, going into this final week before Vengeance Day, which will happen. Obviously, it didn't happen this weekend, but it'll happen next weekend on the 15th, I believe the date is. But then after that, we actually get like a little tease of maybe a new group coming in. We get kind of like a test pattern that would come up on before a TV show comes on. And it actually had appeared throughout the night. But after this last one, it kind of transitions into 4 people just standing with like, you can't really see who they are, but it's just like shadows of 4 people standing there. And that kind of ends the show. So maybe teasing a new grouping of people coming in or, it's obviously teasing some kind of group showing up. So pretty interesting way to end the show there. Maybe they'll pop it. And it said Vengeance Day on it. So we'll see if whoever it is shows up on Vengeance Day. Once again, for the 3rd show in a row, the main event was absolutely the best match. Not the greatest in-ring night per se. None of them were actively bad, but outside of the main event, I wouldn't say any of them were particularly that great either. But we'll go from there to Dynamite. We open with Jay White. He's getting interviewed by Renee Paquette outside. He says that while dealing with the Death Riders, he has had to rely on people he never used to rely on. So that's why he's going to rely on Cope and FTR for now. The Death Riders then walk out to confront White, but Cope and FTR are behind them as well. They then start brawling, and Marina Shafir randomly runs over and picks up Renee Young to get her out of the way, which was apparently a request of Mox, so his wife in real life obviously doesn't get hurt. The Death Riders then fought Cope and FTR in the backstage area, and they made their way into the arena. Cash Wheeler aggressively threw Pac into the barricade in the entrance tunnel. He actually hits the entrance tunnel, like a piece of it cracked off. So he really threw him in there really hard. The other guys made their way to ringside where they fought around the ring. Jay White sent John Moxley into the steps. Wheeler Yuta went after White, so White dropped him with a Blade Runner. Pac then saved Moxley, but then FTR hit him with a Shatter Machine. Pac, that is. Claudio then swung Dax Harwood into the barricade, and then Claudio hit an uppercut on Cash. Moxley then told White to go to hell and stay out of his fucking business. Claudio moved Moxley out of the way when Cope went to hit him with a spear, so he ends up hitting Claudio instead. Cope then said that the fans were chanting one name to encourage them to start kind of chant his name of Cope. Cope wanted an answer from John Moxley for his world title challenge for Revolution. Moxley said that you deserve nothing, you get nothing, so the answer is no. Jay White then spoke up to threaten Moxley as well. He suggested a Brisbane brawl for February 15th with Jay White teaming up with Cope to take on Moxley and Claudio. Moxley does the thumbs up and accepts the challenge for that match in Australia, obviously. We then get the replays of Matthews and Okada's confrontation from Collision, and then we get told that at Grand Slam Australia, we will get a Continental title match between the two of them. And then Will Ospreay comes out for his match next, and Don Callis made his entrance to say he had an announcement to make. Callis said that the opponent for Ospreay tonight is a man he knows very well and went up and down the roads with, and he reveals that Mark Davis, the other part of the United Empire, has joined the Don Callis family, reuniting with Kyle Fletcher, who was his old tag team partner. So Will Ospreay defeats Mark Davis via pinfall following the Hidden Blade. Will Ospreay then said he had a new best friend back there who he is teaming up with in Australia at Grand Slam. Kenny Omega then comes out. Omega says that he has no clue what Don Callis has on Mark Davis, but help is there, and there are people here you can trust. Omega said that in 1 week he returns to the AEW ring in Brisbane, Australia. Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita made their entrance while Don Callis held them back. Omega told them to prepare for Grand Slam. Omega said that now he's back, and you will feel what he is feeling, because next week it's not just a match for fun; it's a match to prove that the future of the company is in the ring and not in the entranceway. We think if the Hurt Syndicate, they are here for a promo. MVP gave props to Private Party for being two talented athletes with a bright future. MVP says that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. MVP put AEW wrestlers on notice, saying that when they want to take their titles, they will take their titles, meaning Benjamin and Lashley will do what they want when they want. MVP also claims that they were open for business. This results in the Gunn brothers of Austin and Colton making their return after several months away from due to injury. Austin says they don't mean any disrespect by interrupting. Austin said that they are businessmen as well who want to conduct some. MVP invited them into the ring. Austin introduced himself as former AEW tag champions and that they have been waiting 2 years to get their rematch on TV. Austin made it clear that they are back. Colton said that hurting people is your job, and Colton said their job is to take back the AEW tag team titles. MVP said he respected the courage and that he respects their father. MVP said that he's about business, so he said next week for the AEW tag team titles, it will be the Hurt Syndicate against a couple of ass boys. Austin said, "You're goddamn right, we are a couple of ass boys," and ended it by saying that we have 2 words for you, which is guns up. We then go to Renee Paquette. She is with Harley Cameron backstage, and we get the Mercedes Moné puppet once again. After Harley mocked Monet, obviously the real Monet showed up with her 4 belts, including the TBS title. Monet mocked Harley, getting her first win and claiming that she was the greatest TBS champion of all time, while Harley is just a loser and she doesn't get to ride the Monet train. Monet then went into her locker room and Harley gave her the middle finger while Renee was trying to hide it away. But obviously Mercedes didn't see it. We then have Hangman Page. He was interviewed by Renee as well. She said that Page appeared to be in pursuit of Swerve Strickland, and Swerve said it was a mistake, that was a moment of weakness, so don't ask about it again. Hangman actually said that, not Renee. Renee mentioned that Christopher Daniels having to retire from wrestling for good because of what Hangman did to him. Page said he didn't regret it. Page said that Daniels overstepped by having a Texas death match with him. Page said he didn't regret it. Max Caster was seated in a chair kind of off to the side, saying he's been waiting for a long time to have his interview time. Max wondered if Page could injure Anthony Bowens or Billy Gunn for him. Page says that he'd love to put somebody in the hospital tonight, and he sees Caster here, so he thought that he seemed like a prime candidate, but Caster backs away. And says he's going to leave and go to his car. So they kind of chase each other away, or Page chases him away. We then get Takeshita and Fletcher. They defeat the Hounds of Hell of Buddy Matthews and Brody King when they hit a shotgun dropkick, brainbuster combo on Brody. We then get Samoa Joe and Hook. They walked around backstage looking for Christian Cage and the Patriarchy. Joe asked Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian where Christian was. They said Christian wasn't here, so Joe and Hook beat the shit out of them to leave him a message. We then see Christian and Mother Wayne kind of look into the room, but they don't want to get involved, so they kind of back away. And as soon as Joe and Hook leave, Christian kind of goes into the room and asks them what the hell happened. We then get MJF. He comes to the ring. He said that all geriatric Jeff Jarrett had to do was stay out of his way and out of MJF's way, and that's why MJF taught him a lesson last week. He said that the lesson is that AEW stands for all elite wrestling and not all elderly wrestling. MJF laughed pretty hard at that one. He thought that was really funny. He said now that the Carney Schmuck is out of the way, MJF is one step closer to obtaining his Triple B, aka the world title, because nobody is on the level of the devil. Max Caster then is shown running into the ring, and MJF tells him to get the hell out. Hangman obviously follows behind him, chasing Caster. Page got into the ring and stared at MJF, but then started running after Caster once again in the crowd. MJF complained about getting interrupted by talented, worthless hack, and some fans chanted "Shut the fuck up" at MJF. Dustin Rhodes then makes his entrance. He got into the ring to tell MJF to shut his stupid trap. Dustin said that MJF badmouths everybody in the back, and he talks about people who aren't even here anymore, like his friend Owen Hart. Dustin called MJF a son of a bitch and told him to keep Owen's name out of his mouth, or Dustin will kick his teeth in. Dustin told MJF to stop talking about people's wives and don't talk about people's past issues with drugs and alcohol. Dustin said he has been 16 years clean and sober, while saying that he has been straight to hell, looked the devil in the eye, and kicked his face in. He tells MJF that he is no devil, as he's obviously seen the real one, apparently. Dustin told MJF that he has all the potential in the world, but he chooses to go to these dark places. Dustin says that there's a reason he's still here at 55 years old, hanging with everybody on the roster. He says that he's a survivor and he is the last of his kind. Dustin said he has survived everything and he's been through it all. Dustin then said when he is gone, the mold will be gone forever. Dustin told MJF he is better than him, and Max's punk bitch ass freaking knows it. MJF then says that was an incredible promo. He says that's the years of being a drug addict turned Dustin's brain into Swiss cheese to think that he was better than MJF. MJF talked about how it took Dustin 37 years to get out of his father's shadow. He then calls him Goldie, obviously as a reference to his Goldust days. And he says what's so sad about the whole thing is that as hard as he had to work and sacrifice to get out of his father's shadow, now he lives in his baby brother's shadow, obviously referencing Cody Rhodes. And this causes Dustin to punch MJF in the mouth. Dustin and MJF then get into a fight where they exchange punches while security and AEW officials try to break it up. MJF starts to go to the back, but then runs back into the ring and low blows Dustin, leaving him laying. And then MJF goes to the back for good. We then get Toni Storm. She is dressed and acting like she's Mariah May. She even comes out to her music, and she has extensions on to make her hair longer like Mariah's is, but her extensions and her like actual hair were different colors, so it just looked really funny to me for some reason. But she defeats Queen Aminata. She hits the Mayday, which is one of Mariah May's finishers. Toni Storm then was interviewed by Renee afterwards. She says she wants to be called Mariah May, the woman from hell. Mariah May then, who was at commentary, is on the apron. Storm asked for a hug. May then backed away and left, and then Storm did the Mariah May pose kind of in the ring as the segment ended. We then get another promo from Dustin Rhodes standing backstage saying, for 37 years, people have been trying to put him in the ground, but he's still here. Dustin said he's the last of his kind. He says next Tuesday in Austin, in his backyard, he's going to beat MJF's ass. Bitch, is what he says. We then get Chris Jericho in the Learning Tree. They do their little New York Minute segment. He says he's happy to be in the ALT, obviously talking about Atlanta, meaning ATL, but he messes it up because he's a moron, or that's his character at least. Jericho claims that nobody wanted Bandito back in AEW. Jericho said on Collision on Saturday he had a $200,000 reward for Brian Keith to take out Bandito on Collision, like Big Bill has taken out Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs then comes out and confronts the Learning Tree. The Outrunners of Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd join the fight to kind of even the odds. There were some security guys trying to break it up, but they got beaten up too. Bill gave one security guy a choke slam on the floor, and Hobbs did the same to another one on the other side. Hobbs and Bill then exchanged punches in the ring, and then the fight spilled out of the ring, and then Hobbs tackled Bill over the commentary table at ringside to kind of wrap things up. We then get Ricochet. He defeats Swerve Strickland in the main event via pinfall after he blocked the Swerve Stomp with an inadvertent low blow. And then he followed it with a spirit gun to finish the match off. And then after the match, Ricochet stole Prince Nana's robe that means a lot to him and walked away with it. So, shocker. Once again, main event was the best match of the show. That this Ricochet Swerve match has been building for weeks, if not a month or so at this point. So I was happy it finally happened, and it did not disappoint, as I knew it would be a banger whenever it did happen. But we'll move from there to Impact. We show Joe Hendry being in the Royal Rumble. They say that he was the first active TNA champion to be in the match. He had a guitar and a microphone, so we're going to have a concert. He started with his own rendition of "We Are the Champions," but it's Hendry is the champion, obviously based on the famous Queen song. And then he did another song that he titled "Joe Hendry Won the Belt," singing about nothing else mattering that now that he is the champ. Hendry told the crowd to clap, or not to clap yet, because this is the part of the concert where his upcoming challenger usually interrupts him, and that brings out Jake Something. Jake Something reminded Hendry that he said he would defend the title against anyone at any time. He told Hendry that Santino Marella booked a match between the two of them for next week for the world title. Hendry then accepted and signed off for the concert for the night. We then get Gia Miller. She is with Masha Slamovich. She talks about tonight's battle royal for the number one contendership for her title. Gia reminded her of the impending threat of Cora Jade. Slamovich then says she always is up for a challenge, and she will address Jade personally at some point. We then get Ace Austin. He defeats Tyson DuPont via pinfall following the fold. Wesley and Tyreek Igwe attack after until the Rascals come out and make the save, running Wes and company off with chairs. Tessa Blanchard then cut a pre-tape promo. She says she wouldn't be in the Battle Royal because she wasn't going to be taken out by 9 other women when they all team up on her. Blanchard said no one can touch her, and she will dominate the division going forward. We then get Savannah Evans. She wins the number one contender battle royal. She last eliminates Zia Brookside with a little help from Cora Jade, who had been on commentary. We then get EY. He came to ringside with the Northern Armory, who he had become the new leader of next week. Young said, in the ring stands Canadian greatness. He is taking on their stable name. He said the Northern Armory runs TNA. He said he wasn't going to let Alexander quit and leave Williams and Icarus out in the cold. He said no one has done more for TNA than him. Young said that he was above everyone in TNA, even the world champion. He called himself a great leader. Steve Macklin comes out and cuts Young off. Macklin and Young have been a team, obviously, over the last few months. He said Young was the first man he trusted in TNA, and that was a mistake. He questioned how Young can stand with 2 guys who tried to end their careers. Young stared him down, emotionless. Macklin then said he has shared many personal things with Young, and now Young has crossed the line. He said he couldn't stand with Young whilst he was with the Northern Armory. Josh Alexander's music then hits, and him and Macklin kind of stare at each other in the aisleway before Macklin goes to the back and Alexander gets in the ring. Alexander said Young can't get rid of him that easily. He said even though his time in TNA is up, he still loves it here, or he still loves the company. He isn't leaving with any regrets and will fight Young next week in his final TNA match. We think it's Sami Callihan backstage. He was trying to find Mance Warner and Steph DeLander. He is interrupted by Frankie Kazarian at one point, who didn't even know who Mance Warner was. And then Kaz called Santino stupid, who had come through and told him to make his workplace safer. We then get the Hardys. The Hardys and Leon Slater. They defeat the System, represented by Moose, JDC, and Eddie Edwards, after Slater hit the Swanton 450, and then Jeff followed it with just a regular one on Moose, and they get the win. We then get Mustafa Ali. He walks in on the Good Hands arguing. He said everyone was yelling, but no one was listening. Ali said he believes that they could be the Great Hands if they followed his guidance. He walks up to Tasha Steelz, who was distraught after being easily eliminated in the Battle Royal earlier. Ali said this kind of thing keeps happening to her. He said that they could put a stop to it together, and ask Tasha to join him. We then get Mike Santana. He defeats Matt Cardona via pinfall after hitting the spin the block clothesline. And then in the main event, we have Fraxium defending their tag team, or the NXT Tag Team Championships, over the Nemeth brothers, and they defeat them when they hit a missile dropkick leg sweep combo on Ryan. And then again, no shock, main event was the best match. Anytime Fraxium gets in the ring, especially with at least one other talented person like Nick Nemeth, it's going to be a pretty good match. So definitely the best match there. And then we'll go to SmackDown. We open with Jey Uso like we did Raw. He's saying main event Jey Uso is now in your city. He's had a hell of a week. He got a lot of love from his family, his friends, and the fans. He reminded us that he was the Royal Rumble winner from the past weekend. Jey said he was here to pick a champion to main event at WrestleMania with. He said on Raw he was in the ring with the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, so it was only right for him to come to SmackDown and go face-to-face with the WWE Champion. And then he introduced his dog, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes gets in the ring and hugs Jey. And then he does the Memphis and main event Jey Uso. What do you want to talk about? But then he says he thinks he knows what Jey Uso wants to talk about. Jey Uso told Cody he knew why he was there. Jey said he can stand across from Cody on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania, and it would mean a lot to him. Jey said that he could be next to him with Cody still WWE champion and Jey as World Heavyweight champion, though, at the same time. Cody said his doctor said he had some issues with an elbow injury and back issues, along with a couple of other things. Cody talked about how full his heart, though, was and how proud he was that Jey won the Royal Rumble. Cody said that this WrestleMania sign is Jey's sign to point at. Cody said that they won tag gold, had a libation or two, and they could do that all over again. Cody said that his first title reign, or for his first title reign to be complete, not only does he have to compete, but he has to win. Cody told Jey if Jey chose him, then it would be the last time this would be the last time for them to have fun. Jey shook Cody's hand, even though he didn't really say whether he was challenging him or not. But Fatu and Tama Tonga come out and interrupt and made their way down to the ring. Fatu said that last year Cody Rhodes took that title from his family, but Fatu said that the family needs the title back. Fatu mentioned his big cousin Jey Uso, saying that if it was anybody to bring the title back to the family, it sure as hell wasn't going to be Jey. Jey super kicked Tama, and Fatu then hit Jey with one as well. Fatu hit a running forearm smash on Cody, who was grabbing his injured left elbow. Fatu tried going for a charging attack, but Jey is able to super kick him, and then Cody hit the Cody cutter on Fatu, and then Jey and Cody double clothesline him out of the ring to the floor to end the segment. We then get Bianca Belair. She defeats Piper Niven via pinfall following the KOD. This gets her into the women's elimination chamber, joining Liv Morgan. We then get the SmackDown GM, Nick Aldis. He was in his office with Caden Carter and Katana Chance, who are now SmackDown superstars. Aldis told Carmelo Hayes, who was in his office as well, that Adam Pearce requested Hayes face a Raw superstar. Hayes didn't seem interested, as it hadn't worked out for him a lot lately. The Raw superstar in question, of course, is Akira Tozawa, who Hayes had taken out of the Royal Rumble, allowing Aisha Speed to be in the match instead. Hayes then said it would be a layup, and then as he's kind of walking away, Tozawa does a little basketball shot gesture and says air ball, obviously making fun of Melo. So Melo kind of gets in his face, but they'll face each other later. We then get DIYs, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano in the ring. They bragged about how they beat the Motor City Machine Guns twice at the Royal Rumble, so they are now the best tag team in the world. Ciampa said it's safe to say that the chances of the Guns holding the tag titles again ever are dead. Ciampa said they are two independent legends, and 11 years ago they were even their favorite tag team. Ciampa wanted everybody to stand up, take their hats off, and bow their heads in silence. But here comes Pretty Deadly to interrupt that silence. Pretty Deadly arrived, and Elton Prince said that he's saying that they felt it was important to mention that they helped DIY keep the tag titles previously. Ciampa wanted them to respect the moment of silence. Nick Aldis walked out to the entranceway telling DIY that they don't have the right to say what happens. Aldis told Pretty Deadly that they have to earn a title shot if they want one. He then books a non-title match between the two, between Pretty Deadly and DIY, and if Pretty Deadly wins, they'll get a title match. DIY complains because they're in street clothes and don't have their wrestling gear. We then get that match, and Pretty Deadly actually scores the upset win when Prince rolls Ciampa up after illegally using the rope for leverage. We then get the Miz. He's talking to Andrade in the back, saying he was impressed by him and their match last week. Miz said that Andrade can learn from Miz. Miz said he learned how to beat Miz last week. Cody Rhodes then walks up, and Miz, he said that guys like them are old school, and he'll always have Cody's back. I think they're pretty good buddies in real life. Cody said he didn't want Miz to have his back. Miz said that this time last year it was Cody's story and the entire world was behind Cody, but this year they're about Jey Uso. The Miz said that we know what a title does to a friendship, and reminded him about Kevin Owens. The Miz then said that Jey Uso against Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania is a hell of a story. We then get Drew McIntyre. He's out. He said to screw Raw because he is officially a SmackDown superstar once again. Drew said that after he was eliminated by a coward, he was angry and drove from Indianapolis to Nashville, sleeping in his own bed. Drew said that he got out of his bed saying he's jacked while wondering why he was so angry all the time. He's a jacked specimen that doesn't need to be mad. Drew said on Raw, everybody was trying to stab you in the back, and that bald idiot Adam Pearce didn't know what he was doing. He said he talked to Nick Aldis, who he has known since they were teenagers, and Drew said that Nick said that Drew can be himself 100% on SmackDown. Drew said that he was here for Cody, but not specifically for Cody himself, but for the title that he held. Jimmy Uso walked out saying Drew comes out here complaining about the past, and he sounds like an ex-girlfriend. Jimmy said that Drew said that they stole things from him, but the simple fact is he lost. Jimmy said that Drew has to earn this spot, but Drew has to get through Jimmy and LA Knight tonight. Drew said that he's a different man. He said he's cool, Jay. And obviously making fun of the fact that he doesn't know the Usos apart. And he calls that out. He says he can barely tell them apart after 20 years. Drew then said that Jimmy is just as talented and told Jimmy that maybe he'd be where Jay is at if he had just said yeet first. Jimmy said that he can say yeet or no yeet if he wants. He said that Jay did his clock, but what about yours, Drew? Jimmy said that Drew has to get through Big Jim first and then go to the Elimination Chamber and then get to WrestleMania. But Jimmy is here to kick some ass, and Jimmy told Drew he was going to WrestleMania. This brings out LA Knight. Knight says that Jimmy is the main reason that Knight didn't win the WWE title over a year ago. Knight said that in his life he wants to affect good change. He said that if something arises in your life that makes you cry, let it out because it doesn't make you any less of a man. Knight then said that there is a line of crying where it can come too much. Knight then said that there are 3 guarantees in life, saying that there are death, taxes, and Drew McIntyre crying. Knight even said he heard somebody called him Drew McIntyre earlier in the crowd, and then Knight said, "Oh wait, he forgot to get his stuff in," and does the L.A. Knight, before getting in the ring for the next match, where Drew McIntyre defeats LA Knight and Jimmy Uso when he hit Knight with the Claymore as he was hitting the BFT on Jimmy. So he pins LA Knight after he kicks him in the head. We then get Damian Priest. He is interviewed by Byron Saxton. Priest says he's going to eliminate Drew from the Elimination Chamber just like he did the Royal Rumble. Braun Strowman then walked up to Priest saying that next week Priest will be in the ring with the 2 baddest men in WWE. Priest said that he will take care of Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu next week in their qualifying match. And then Braun said that next week you're going to be in the ring with a wild animal and a monster. Priest said he was not overlooking anything and left. We think Kevin Owens cutting his usual promo on his phone while sitting in the car. He talked about how the scars on his face he talked about the scars on his face and the pain all over his body. Owens said that Zayn stood there and watched while Cody tried to end his career. Owens trashed Zayn for doing nothing. Owens said that he saw Zayn rushing to the aid of Roman Reigns during the Royal Rumble, but for Owens, Sami did nothing. Owens called Zayn a horrible friend, a disgusting human being, and he'll never forgive him. Owens then said he'll make Zayn pay. Owens told Zayn Owens said he'll make him pay. Carmelo Hayes then trashed Tozawa, saying he looked like Cody Rhodes being left in the dryer too long. Melo then said that Memphis can call him Ja Morant, but the difference is if there was an all-star team in WWE, he would be selected, unlike Ja. We then get Carmelo defeating Akira Tozawa when he hit the nothing but net leg drop. We then get R-Truth backstage holding up Akira Tozawa until he dropped him. Truth shouted on Jey Uso and shouted out Jey Uso, and Truth congratulated Jey on becoming the king of the ring. Jey, of course, corrects him and says he won the Royal Rumble. Truth then left because Tozawa yeeted himself, and everybody laughed, obviously. Cody walked up to ask Jey about WrestleMania. Jey said he'd love to face Cody, but he also has some unfinished beef with Gunther. Jey said he is undecided and left, so despite the fact that he said he was going to make his decision earlier, he did not. And then we get Charlotte Flair. She's out and asks Memphis if they love her or hate her. Flair says when they boo, she hears money. Flair said that she lives rent-free in everyone's heads because she is wrestling's obsession. Flair says that you are obsessed with her looks, championships, her last name, and everything her. Flair said that people think she is better than everybody because her name is Flair, and said that's just not why she's the best. Flair mentioned that she had been gone for 14 months, and now she won the big match by winning the Royal Rumble, beating 29 unserious women. Flair said that there was no way she was getting eliminated. Flair said that she punched her ticket to WrestleMania. She mentioned going to Raw to talk to Rhea Ripley and NXT to talk to Julia to see if they would inspire her, and now she is here to see Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany, of course, makes her way to the ring. Wade Barrett kind of mentions that this is a fantasy booked matchup that a lot of people have talked about. Stratton says that nobody is a bigger Charlotte Flair fan than her. I think Jennifer Smith would disagree with that one. Stratton said that she thought WWE wouldn't survive without Charlotte, and people only cared for about a day that she was gone. Stratton said that she made it to the top, ticket sales went up, and they sell out everywhere. Stratton says that she is at the top of the heap and she's the top reason that that's happening. Flair told Stratton that she can speak when Flair tells her to speak. Flair told Stratton to get in line. Stratton then said that since she debuted, she has been compared to Charlotte and called the next Charlotte Flair. Stratton told Flair to pick her so she can prove that she's not the next Charlotte Flair, but the first Tiffany Stratton. Flair said that she she sees a child begging Flair to make her a star at WrestleMania. Flair told Stratton to go on her hands and knees and beg for her to choose her. Nia Jackson interrupts and she comes out with Candice LeRae. She said this was all premature because Jax was going to be champion again. Jax said that she spoke to all this saying instead of going to the Elimination Chamber, Jax would get a title shot next week against Tiffany. Jax said that if Charlotte wants to be women's champion at WrestleMania, then Flair has to go through her. Flair said that she'll stick around and watch next week and see what happens. We then get Alexa Bliss. She defeats Candice LeRae via pinfall with the Abigail DDT. This qualifies her for the Elimination Chamber as well, so joining Bianca and Liv. So we've got about half the field. We then get Chelsea Green, the women's U.S. champion, of course, and Piper Niven in the back with Byron. Chelsea, he mentions that Chelsea is going to have a qualifier match with Naomi next week. BFAB and Michin walk in to trash talk Chelsea and Piper. And they talk about taking the women's U.S. title from her. Zelina Vega then walked in saying that she would like a shot at the title as well. Niven then wondered what the hell was going on, and Green told her that they need to get a better security detail. We then get the Street Profits. They appear in a pre-tape video. Angelo Dawkins said that every time they are close to getting the tag titles, something happens, and Dawkins was fired up as he threw his crutch away that he had for his injury. Montez Ford said that you have officially pissed off the Street Profits. Ford said that they have always been together and they will stay together, and this violence will be televised. Ford said, God have mercy on your souls because we want the smoke. We then get the Motor City Machine Guns getting interviewed by Byron Saxon. Shelley talks about how the Street Profits cost him their match. Sabin said that they had the match won, but obviously that got squashed when the Street Profits interfered. Los Garza then comes in and walk up to argue with the Guns. Santos and Elektra come in as well. He said that these problems started with the Street Profits. Escobar told the Motor City Machine Guns that they can have a match next week with his boys. And then we get our main event where Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso defeat Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu when Cody hits the crossroads on Tama Tonga. After the match, Solo Sikoa makes his return and hits Cody with the Samoan Spike. Solo had his regular sneak up gear on of the hoodie, the black hoodie kind of hiding his face. And then he took it off and threw it down and stood over a fallen Cody Rhodes. For the first time tonight, the main event wasn't the best match. It was a good tag match, but the triple threat between Drew, LA Knight, and Jimmy Uso was the best match of SmackDown for me. And then I'll quickly run through the TV match rankings for the week. Ricochet and Swerve would be number 1 for me. Punk and Zayn would be number 2. The triple threat that I just talked about on SmackDown would be number 3 for me. The Hounds of Hell versus Takeshita and Fletcher would be number 4. And then Fraxium versus the Nemeths would ring in at number 5 for me this week. So a solid week of wrestling, kind of coming off the Royal Rumble, continuing to build towards Revolution for AEW's side. Kind of just starting the new year fresh and Impact. So definitely looking to continue the build to WrestleMania and Revolution, obviously, and continue to see what TNA and NXT can kind of do together, and Vengeance Day, obviously. Yeah, solid week. Thank you for listening as always, and we'll see you next time.